I found out on a Thursday morning, not from a call, not even a text, but through a Facebook photo. A blurry, heart-filtered group shot at some over-decorated baby shower with the words, "So grateful to everyone who came to celebrate our growing family," stamped across the top like a slap in the face. There was my daughter-in-law, Kelsey, smiling wide with her fake pearly teeth, one hand on her belly, the other clutching a gift bag. My son, Brandon, was half smiling like he always does when he's unsure if he agrees with the moment. And then, in the corner, holding a balloon and wearing my ex-husband's tan linen jacket, there was Gary. I had to zoom in 3 times to believe it. They invited him, but not me. Let me say this clearly. I raised Brandon alone for 16 years after Gary walked out. He left on a Sunday. He said, "I just need air." And by Wednesday, he was living with a woman named Tara who wore leather pants and sold energy drinks out of her trunk. I worked double shifts at the assisted living center to make rent, $1,180 a month, and never a single support check from him. Not one. Brandon knew all of it. He saw me come home with my ankles swollen and my hands raw from disinfectant. He knew that when his cleats didn't arrive for soccer tryouts, it was because I chose the electric bill over the $59.99 pair he wanted. He knew it was me who stayed, and him who left. So imagine what it felt like, sitting alone in my 1-bedroom apartment, eating leftover tuna casserole, squinting at a photo that said, in 1,000 unspoken words, "You're not wanted." Kelsey has always had a smile that didn't match her eyes. From the very first dinner when Brandon brought her home, she was polite, too polite. She called me Miss Darlene, even though I told her a dozen times, "Just Darlene is fine." She brought a pie, one of those store-bought ones with a plastic tube, and crust that flakes like cardboard. It had a price sticker still on the bottom, $6.99 from Kroger. I noticed. She didn't. They were dating only 7 months when they got engaged. Brandon proposed at a botanical garden. She posted every petal of it on Instagram before even calling me. I found out about the engagement from a friend at work who said, "Your son's fiancé has a real flair for hashtags." I didn't even know she was his fiancé yet. From the beginning, I wasn't included. I was tolerated. I remember asking Kelsey gently, "Will your parents be helping with the wedding expenses?" Because I knew I couldn't. I'd just taken on a payday loan to fix my car's transmission, $2,300 at 18.9% interest, and I could barely cover that. She smiled and said, "Oh, we're trying to keep things intimate, probably just our inner circle." Inner circle. That phrase has haunted me for a year. The baby news came in April. They told me over dinner at Applebee's, which I paid for, by the way, $41.70, not including tip. Kelsey held up a tiny onesie that said, "Coming October 2025, and looked at me like I should cry. I did, but not for the reason she hoped. I cried in the bathroom after they left, quietly, into the paper towels, because I knew what was coming. I would not be welcome. I called Brandon a few days later. I said, "Do you have a registry? I'd love to pick something meaningful." He said, "Oh, Kelsey's handling that. I'll ask her." Weeks passed. No reply. I sent a $100 Target gift card in the mail anyway. No thank you. Not even a text. Back to that Facebook photo. Once I confirmed what I was seeing, that Gary, the man who vanished when Brandon was 10 and didn't even send a card for high school graduation, was invited. My body went cold. Ice in my veins. I stared at the screen so long my phone went dark. I turned it back on and zoomed again. There he was, holding a gift, wrapped neatly in shiny gold paper with a silver bow. I opened Messenger. My fingers hovered. I hope the shower was beautiful. I saw some photos, surprised to see Gary there. I didn't realize he'd reconnected with Brandon. I kept it calm, polite, like a woman with dignity. No reply for 2 hours. Then, finally, "Hi, Darlene. We kept the shower really small and casual, mostly just friends and people who could make it on short notice. Hope you understand. Gary was in town anyway, so it just made sense. Thanks for the card." That last sentence, "Thanks for the card," felt like a dagger dressed as a thank you note. I didn't reply. I couldn't. My throat burned. 3 days passed before Brandon called. He sounded awkward. "Hey, Mom. Kelsey told me you messaged her about the shower." I didn't raise my voice. I said, You could have told me, Brandon, he sighed. It wasn't meant to be a big deal. We didn't want to stress you, and, well, Kelsey felt like things have been a little tense. Tense? I laughed. Not kindly. Because I asked about the registry? No. It's not that. She connects with Dad in a way that's different. There it was. Dad. Not Gary. Not him. Dad. I whispered. He left you, Brandon. Me. Us. He left us. He didn't speak for a moment. Then, people change, Mom. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed with the light off, the hallway clock ticking louder than normal. I thought about all the birthdays I baked cakes for, cheap box ones, but always with homemade frosting. I thought about the nights I walked 2 miles in the snow when my car broke down, just to make his parent-teacher conferences. I thought about the $68 I once spent on a used Xbox controller because his broke and I wanted him to smile. And now Gary, who spent more time in dive bars than at baseball games, was being welcomed as the honored guest? No. Something in me shifted that night. I stopped crying. I started planning. They thought it could erase me from my own grandchild's life, so I gave them a lesson in presence they'll never forget. The next morning, I woke up before the alarm. I hadn't done that in years, not since the days I used to pack Brandon's lunchboxes with little sticky notes. Do your best. I love you. Back then, I believed small gestures mattered. Now I knew better. I brewed my coffee extra strong, 2 heaping spoonfuls of Café Bustelo, the kind I save for company. But there was no company, just me and the long, hard wall of silence that had formed between me and my only child. I didn't cry. I didn't scroll. I sat in the kitchen staring at the half-dead pothos plant Kelsey gave me last Christmas, probably a re-gift. It looked about how I felt. I reached for the yellow notepad I keep by the phone and started writing. Not poetry, not letters, a list, a very practical list. Ways they've erased me. Excluded from the engagement dinner, never met Kelsey's parents, not asked to help plan the wedding, no say in Brandon's new job move, ignored registry request, left out of baby shower, Gary invited over me. By the time I got to the 8th line, I had underlined Gary so hard I tore the paper. Now here's something you need to know about me. I am not confrontational. I do not scream. I do not slam doors. But I never forget. And I certainly don't sit around waiting to be erased quietly. I started collecting. That very afternoon. Emails, receipts, texts. I pulled up the wedding registry Brandon swore they didn't have. It was still live. Pottery Barn, over $2,000 worth of items marked as gifted. Not a single item from me. Then I logged into my old Chase account, the one I stopped using after the divorce. I spent 2 hours going through statements. Do you know what I found? 4 payments of $450, spaced over 6 months, transferred to Brandon's account. He said it was for moving costs when he and Kelsey relocated to Nashville. Turns out it helped cover their honeymoon. I found the Airbnb confirmation in my email, forwarded by mistake back in March of last year. $1,800 I gave while eating rice and beans and declining haircuts. The real spark, though, the one that lit the fire, came that weekend. I ran into Michelle, an old friend of mine from church, at the farmer's market. She was buying overpriced lavender honey and asked if I was just over the moon about becoming a grandma. I gave a tight smile. Yes, of course. She leaned in, as people do when they want to gossip, but pretend they're being kind. I saw Gary at the shower. Looks like he and your daughter-in-law are real close. I blinked. What do you mean? Oh, she said. He made a speech. Called her the daughter he never had. Everyone clapped. I think he cried. It was sweet. I clenched the brown paper bag so hard the plums bruised inside. Gary made a speech. Called her his daughter. They let him stand where I should have stood. They gave him the microphone, the spotlight, the applause, after everything. That night, I made a new list. Ways I will reclaim my place. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. But I would be heard. Step 1. The memory box. Back when Brandon was in 3rd grade, he made a Mother's Day card with a macaroni border and a poem inside that read, Mom, you fix what's broken, even when it's me. I'd saved it, along with every drawing, award ribbon, baby tooth, and homemade ornament, all in a cedar box under my bed. I spent hours arranging the contents and added a letter on top, handwritten in my neatest script. Dear Brandon, since I am no longer considered part of your inner circle, I figured I should pass these back to their rightful owner. Perhaps you and your real family can create new memories together. Love always. Mom, in case you forget. I wrapped the box carefully in brown craft paper, sealed it with twine, and drove 27 minutes to their townhouse on Willow Bend Drive. I didn't knock. I didn't ring-tell. The bell, I left it on their doorstep at exactly 3:47 p.m., the time Brandon was born. Symbolic, precise. I watched from the car as Kelsey opened the door. She stared down at the package, called out something. Brandon appeared. He looked around. I ducked. He read the tag. He bent to pick it up. He carried it inside. Good. Let the silence settle heavy in their perfect nursery. Step 2. The announcement. On the Monday after, I printed a copy of the baby shower photo, the one with Gary smiling like the Pope, and took it to Walgreens. I had 25 glossy 5x7 prints made. Then I typed up a new message. Please join me in wishing Gary Mitchell, absentee father and charming fraud, all the best as he pretends to be a doting grandfather. For 16 years, this man contributed nothing but silence to our son's life. Now, with the help of my daughter-in-law, he's been given the role I earned with sweat, sacrifice, and love. A round of applause, everyone. He made it. Just in time for the photos. I mailed it anonymously. No return address. To Kelsey's parents, 3 of Brandon's friends from college, my ex-sister-in-law, Gary's current wife. Yes, he married Tara in 2010, their church pastor. I don't know what reaction I expected, but I do know one thing. People talk. Step 3. The nursery visit. I wasn't going to be cut out of this baby's life, so I waited until Kelsey hit her 36th week, and then I sent a text, not to Brandon, but to her. I knitted a blanket, thought the baby might like something made by someone who's actually related to them. I'll leave it on the porch unless you'd prefer I hand it to you directly. She responded in 5 minutes. You can drop it off. I'll be here. Just that. But it was something. So I went. I wore my best sweater, the navy one with the gold buttons. I curled my hair. I wore lipstick. She opened the door slowly. Her bell. I now huge, her eyes guarded. I handed her the blanket. Blue and cream with little clouds. It took me 3 weeks. She looked down at it, then back at me. Thank you, she said, but her tone said something else. This doesn't mean we're okay. I smiled. It's not for you. And I turned and walked away. They tried to shut me out with silence, but silence is my oldest weapon, and I was just getting started. 3 weeks later, the baby arrived. No phone call, no text, not even a birth announcement. I found out the same way I'd learned about the baby shower, through social media. There it was, a black and white photo on Kelsey's Instagram, her in a hospital gown, Brandon kissing her forehead, and a pink swaddled bundle in her arms. The caption read, "Welcome to the world, Ellie Rose Mitchell, born October 12th, 7 Ulbs 9 OZ, 19 inches of absolute love. Our hearts are so full." Full. Maybe hers was. Mine? It felt like it had been emptied out with a metal spoon. I stared at the photo for 20 minutes, zoomed in on Ellie's tiny fingers. She had Brandon's nose. My nose. And yet, I wasn't allowed to be part of her arrival into the world. Even Gary commented, "She's perfect. So proud to be her grandpa." Grandpa. That word used to belong to my father. A real man. A man who never missed a birthday or a graduation. A man who taught Brandon how to fish and cried when he got accepted to college. Gary hadn't even shown up to Brandon's college move-in day, and yet here he was, claiming pride over a life he didn't earn. I got up from the computer, walked into my sewing room, and sat in the silence. No sound but the ticking of the wall clock and the hum of the refrigerator. I opened my notebook again, a fresh page this time. Phase 2. Presents. I knew I'd never be welcomed in through the front door again, but that didn't mean I couldn't get in through the side. Literally. I signed up for a baby music class in their neighborhood. They offered a Grandma Me group every Wednesday morning for infants aged 0 to 6 months. I didn't have Ellie, of course, but I didn't need to. I just needed to observe. I brought my friend Susan's granddaughter 1 week with permission. I paid the $25 drop-in fee, smiled politely, and sat near the back. I watched, waited. Sure enough, week 4, there was Kelsey, bright-eyed and tired-looking, wearing yoga pants and holding Ellie against her chest like a protective shield. I didn't make a scene. I didn't wave. I just noted. She wasn't breastfeeding. Good to know. She didn't have her mother with her. Interesting. She looked alone. I saw her struggle to fold the stroller one-handed afterward. I nearly stepped forward, but I stopped myself too soon. Instead, I walked away, quietly, let the image simmer. Next, I mailed a handwritten card, addressed to Baby Ellie. Inside I wrote, "My dearest Ellie Rose, one day you'll hear stories about who was there when you were born and who loved you most. I want you to know I've loved you since before you took your first breath. Love, Grandma Darlene." I included a photo of Brandon at age 5, standing next to the Christmas tree, holding the stuffed bear I bought him for $3 at a church rummage sale. His smile, missing 2 front teeth, was genuine joy. I sealed the envelope in pink wax and mailed it to their address. Registered delivery. Someone signed for it. I don't know who. They never replied. Weeks passed. And then, a text, out of nowhere, from Brandon. "Mom, we need to talk. Can we meet somewhere?" No emoji. No love you. Just those 6 words. I replied, "Sure, just name the time." We met at the Panera Bread off Cedar Drive, halfway between our homes. I wore a scarf. It was cold that day. October 31st, fitting, a day for masks and pretending. He looked too. I read, pale, like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. "Hi," he said, sliding into the booth. "Thanks for coming." "I always come when you ask, Brandon. You know that." He nodded, picked at the corner of a napkin. Then, "I didn't know Dad was going to say all that stuff at the shower. About being close to Kelsey. About being her dad." I kept my voice steady. "But you did invite him. And you didn't invite me." Silence. He sighed. "Kelsey's mom and dad, they think you're dramatic. That you stir things up." I leaned forward. "Did I stir things up when I paid your rent for 2 years? When I sold my wedding ring to buy you your first car?" He flinched. "That's not fair." "No. What's not fair is watching your ex-husband get praise for doing nothing, while the woman who raised you is being pushed into the shadows like a bad secret." He looked up at me then. Really looked. "I never meant to hurt you." I swallowed hard. "But you did," I said. "You did. And it's not about invitations or speeches or Instagram. It's about what kind of man you're becoming. The kind who rewards absence and punishes loyalty." He blinked. His lips trembled a little, but he didn't cry. He never did. Not like when he was little. "I want you in Ellie's life," he said quietly. "But I need things to be peaceful." "Peaceful?" I raised an eyebrow. "Then maybe you should talk to your wife." His expression shifted. "She said you sent letters. To her parents. To church people." I shrugged. "I didn't sign anything." "Mom, I will not apologize for existing, Brandon, and I will not be erased." He was quiet for a long time. Then finally, "Maybe we can start fresh. A visit, supervised. See how it goes." My heart thudded. This wasn't an open door, but it was a crack. A small, splintering crack in the wall they'd built around that baby, my granddaughter. "Fine," I said. "I'll take what I can get." The first visit was awkward. It was a Tuesday, November 7th, 10 a.m. sharp. Kelsey opened the door wit. How to smile, holding Ellie like a fragile relic. She just fed. She might sleep through most of it. I stepped inside, wiping my feet twice on the mat, even though it was clean. Their house smelled like vanilla and baby wipes. I sat on the far couch. Ellie was placed in a bassinet. I stared at her for a solid 10 minutes, just watching her chest rise and fall. Then I whispered, barely audible, "Hi, baby girl. Grandma's here." Kelsey didn't say anything, just scrolled on her phone. But I saw the way her eyes flicked over, watching me. I didn't do anything dramatic. I didn't bring a gift. I didn't speak ill of Gary or the past. I just sat there, present, quiet, unapologetic. They wanted me small and silent, but I've never been good at staying in my place, not when the stakes are blood. Ellie was 3 weeks old when she wrapped her tiny fingers around mine. Her skin was soft, wrinkled like wet silk, and for a moment, time collapsed. I was holding Brandon again, 1994. Hospital room 302, rain tapping the windows like a lullaby. Back then, I had no crib, no nursery, just a fold-up bassinet and a drawer full of borrowed onesies from the women's shelter thrift store. But I had him, and I had hope, and now I had her. For exactly 37 minutes, I sat in their cream-colored living room, holding my granddaughter while Kelsey half-watched from the kitchen. The silence was the loudest thing in the house. No TV, no music, just the sound of Ellie's soft breath and the occasional clink of a spoon in Kelsey's cup. When it was time to leave, I handed Ellie back gently, like glass. She smiled at me, I said. Kelsey didn't look up. It's just gas. I smiled back, not sweetly. Maybe, or maybe she knows who I am. After that, the door opened a little wider. Every Tuesday morning, I was allowed to visit for exactly 1 hour. Never more, not a minute less. Brandon was never home during those visits. He had meetings. I suspected it was easier for him not to see how strained things were between me and his wife. Kelsey never offered me tea, never asked how I was, never called me grandma, but I didn't mind, because Ellie started to smile. For real this time. And one Tuesday, she laughed, just a tiny giggle, barely a squeak, when I tickled under her chin. I felt it like lightning in my chest. That laugh rewrote something in me, reattached my soul to this family they tried so hard to amputate me from. I kept records. Every visit, every diaper I changed, every time I soothed her to sleep, I wrote it all down in a little blue notebook I labeled Ellie's Truth, because I knew one day someone might try to rewrite history, and I'd be ready. On December 3rd, I brought over a tiny pair of handmade mittens, pale pink, softest alpaca wool. Took me 7 hours to knit. Kelsey looked at them and said flatly, "She doesn't like things on her hands." I smiled, handed them over anyway. She'll grow into liking them. She didn't put them on. She tossed them on the side table like junk mail. That was the day I decided I'd stop asking for a place. I would make one. Brandon called later that week. "I think Kelsey's warming up," he said. "She said the visits are going okay." "Okay," I repeated. "Is that her word?" He hesitated. "She's trying." "I've been trying," I snapped. "She's been tolerating." He didn't respond, just changed the subject. They wanted me grateful for crumbs, but I'd baked the whole damn cake, raised the baker, and paid for the oven. And now they wanted me to sit outside and sniff through the window? No. Then came Christmas. I was not invited. Again, I found out through, you guessed it, photos. Kelsey, wearing a Santa hat. Brandon, holding Ellie under the tree. And Gary, in the background, wearing the same tan jacket, carving turkey like some patriarch. He even had a stocking on the mantel, embroidered. Grandpa Gary. Mine was probably in the trash. I spent that day alone. I didn't cry. I made myself a full dinner. Turkey breast, green bean casserole, pumpkin pie. I lit candles, set the table for one. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I wrote a letter. But not to them, to Ellie. "Dear Ellie Rose, this is your first Christmas. You won't remember it, but I will. Because I wasn't there. Not because I didn't want to be, but because I wasn't invited. One day you'll hear stories. Some of them might paint me as distant, or dramatic, or unfit. I want you to know the truth. I was there when your father scraped his knees. I was there when he had nightmares. I was there when he didn't want to go to prom because his suit was too big, and we couldn't afford another one. I stayed. I loved him in 1,000 ways Gary never bothered to. And now, I love you, even from the outside. Merry Christmas, baby girl. With all the parts of my heart they haven't managed to kill yet, Grandma Darlene. I made 4 copies, one for my safe, one for my attorney, one for Brandon's future regret, and one I slipped into a baby memory book I'd given them back in April, which Kelsey claimed she couldn't find. I knew exactly where it was, in the hall closet, bottom shelf, behind a basket of seasonal dish towels. The next Tuesday, during a diaper change, while Kelsey took a call in the other room, I opened the closet, quietly, slid the letter inside the book, closed it, put it right back. Call it insurance. By January, the visits grew warmer. Not friendly, but less brittle. Kelsey even laughed at something I said. Once. Ellie spits up if you rock her too fast, I told her, dabbing my sweater with a towel. She's a dramatic little thing. Kelsey smirked. That's your side of the family. That was the closest we'd ever come to a joke. Progress. But I was still on eggshells. Every week felt like probation. One wrong word, one side comment, and I'd be back in exile. Then came the slip. The moment that cracked it all open. It was a rainy Tuesday in February. I showed up 5 minutes early. Kelsey opened the door, looking pale and shaken. She didn't greet me, just said, "Take her," and placed Ellie in my arms like she couldn't bear the weight anymore. I stepped inside, held her close. Then I saw it, the wine glass, half full, on the kitchen counter, 10:03 a.m. The air smelled faintly sour, like stale Merlot and baby wipes. Kelsey sat on the couch, head in her hands. I didn't say a word. I just rocked Ellie, quietly, calmly, for nearly the full hour. Then, as I was about to leave, I said softly, "Do you want me to stay a little longer?" Kelsey looked up, her eyes red. "No," she whispered. "Just don't tell Brandon." I didn't answer. I just nodded and left. But in that moment, that fragile, cracked silence, I realized something. She needed me, whether she admitted it or not, and that changed everything. They underestimated me. Again. But now I held something more powerful than bitterness. I had leverage. Leverage. It's a quiet kind of power. Not loud, not boastful. But once you have it, the whole table tilts in your favor, slowly, steadily, until the people who dismissed you start to reach out, hoping you'll pull them back. That morning in February, when I saw the wine glass and Kelsey's broken eyes, I didn't gloat. I didn't scold. I simply remembered. Because mothers don't forget the weight of a shaking hand, or the difference between tired and falling apart. Over the next few weeks, things shifted. Suddenly Kelsey was texting me. Small things at first. "Ellie has a rash. Did Brandon ever get rashes like this? What kid? And a formula did you use when you switched from breastfeeding? And then this. Would you mind staying for an extra hour today? I haven't slept." I did mind. I minded a lot, but I said yes. Because now the door wasn't just cracked, it was open. And not because they were feeling generous, but because they needed me. By March, I was coming over twice a week. One time, Brandon was home. He opened the door, looking genuinely happy to see me. "Thanks again for helping," he said. "Kelsey's been overwhelmed. Ellie's been up every 2 hours." I nodded. I remember those days. He rubbed the back of his neck. "I don't know how you did it alone." I looked him straight in the eye. "Neither do I." Then one night, I got a call, not a text. A call. It was 11:42 p.m. My heart jumped. Those late-night rings are either tragedy or rebirth. It was Brandon. His voice was low, urgent. Kelsey had a breakdown. She screamed at Ellie, then locked herself in the bathroom and wouldn't come out. I sat straight up in bed. "Is the baby okay?" "She's fine now. I took her to my mom's, but I think she needs help," he was crying. And here's the thing. I should have felt vindicated. I should have reveled in it, but I didn't. Because no one wins when a mother breaks. The next day, I showed up at their house with groceries, frozen meals, and 2 typed lists. One was titled, Kelsey's Support Plan. The other, Ellie's Routine. Kelsey didn't come downstairs. Brandon said she was resting. But I knew better. Shame weighs more than exhaustion. I handed him the papers. "I can take Ellie Tuesdays and Fridays, maybe Saturdays too, if needed." He looked at me, surprised. "Are you sure?" I raised an eyebrow. "I raised you, didn't I?" Weeks passed. Kelsey started treatment. Therapy, medication, long walks with no stroller. She started texting more. Softer messages. Thank you. Ellie loves you. I'm sorry if I've been cold. One day, she said the words I never thought I'd hear. You're a better mother than I gave you credit for. I sat in my car after reading that, engine off, tears streaking silently down my face. Not because I needed her praise, but because I had earned it, and now she knew. April brought sunshine and Ellie's first laugh-out-loud giggle fit. I was the one who caused it, making ridiculous faces with a spoon while feeding her mashed bananas. Kelsey recorded it, sent it to me. Saved under Ellie's favorite grandma, she wrote, with a heart emoji. Progress. That same week, they asked me to babysit while they went out for their anniversary dinner. It felt like I'd been promoted from exile to family again, but I hadn't forgotten the cost. That night, while Ellie slept in the bassinet, I opened the memory book again. The letter I'd hidden was still there, untouched. I took it out, not to remove it, to add to it. Ellie Rose, you are almost 6 months old now. Today you laughed like the sun had hands. One day, I hope you read this and understand how hard it was for me to stay soft in a world that tried to turn me hard. I forgave people who didn't deserve it, not for them, but for you. Because one day, when you're a woman, someone might try to erase you too. And I want you to remember, you can write your way back in, just like I did. By May, Gary faded. Literally. He missed a few visits, stopped commenting on photos. Word got around that his new wife wasn't thrilled about his sudden involvement in another family. Brandon mentioned it once. We don't see him much anymore. I nodded, sipping my tea. That's his pattern. Nothing else needed to be said. Mother's Day came. I didn't expect anything. That's the truth. I figured maybe a card, a polite text. Instead, Brandon knocked on my door at 9:00 a.m. He was holding Ellie, dressed in a tiny yellow dress and a basket full of muffins, flowers, and a folded note. He handed it to me. From Kelsey. I opened it. Inside was a simple message, in her careful, slanted handwriting. You were always the mother I hoped to become. I just couldn't see it through my own shadows. Thank you for staying, even when we tried to push you out. We need you. Ellie needs you. Happy Mother's Day. Love, Kelsey. I hugged Brandon, held Ellie. And for the first time in over a year, I felt peace. Not revenge, not rage. Just peace. They say revenge is best served cold. But sometimes, the real victory isn't serving revenge at all. It's being indispensable. It's becoming so deeply woven into their lives that they can't remove you without unraveling everything. It's knowing that your absence would hurt more than your presence ever did. And that is the sweetest justice of all. They tried to erase me. They gave my role away, replaced me with someone who never earned it. But I stayed. I watched. I waited. And in the end, they came back. Not because they wanted to, but because they had to.